Now, the other breaking news from today is from Elon Musk, where he announced that the DOGE team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order. That money is meant for American disaster relief and instead is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals. A clawback demand will be made today to recoup those funds. Now, the acting FEMA administrator, Cameron Hamilton, said this: "I want to thank the DOGE team for making me aware of this. Effective yesterday, these payments have all been suspended from FEMA. Personnel will be held accountable." Now, the former FEMA administrator actually came out and said, no, you guys are misleading the public on this. This is actually a reimbursement. Listen to this.
On the Elon Musk news, his putting out that there were $59 million in FEMA funds that went to migrants. The former FEMA director still says that that is misleading because they say that that money was actually appropriated to reimburse for housing, for shelters that had to take in migrants. I think most people, especially Trump supporters, if you talk to people and you talk to members of Congress here, say it doesn't make a difference what pot of funding it comes from. $60 million for migrants is $60 million for migrants. And they look at FEMA and say the entire thing top down is going to need to be restructured. DHS new Kristi Noem says she is going to be doing that, restructuring. And you can bet that here in Congress, President Trump's Republican allies will continue to support those kinds of efforts, too.
Now, there's some speculation on social media in regards to the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. The city of New York pays $220 million to rent it. To who exactly? To house illegal migrants. Not only that, but the hotel is owned by the government of Pakistan, and the deal was part of a $1.1 billion IMF bailout package to help Pakistan avoid defaulting on their international debt. Prior to the sweetheart deal, the hotel has been closed since 2020, having long struggled with occupancy in dire need of renovation. Now let's take a trip down memory lane. In October 2024, then White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said, no, there are no FEMA funds going to illegal migrants.
This is a falsehood. Disaster relief funds used on immigrants illegally in the U.S. The fact is, no money is being diverted from response needs. That's the fact.
And no wonder people do not trust or believe anything that comes out of the mouth of the media and the Democratic Party because of statements like that. She claimed it was a fact, falsehood, that people were pushing misinformation, even went to the level of calling people like me scammers for even promoting this idea on social media. Now, what's really sad about this and why the media, and especially the Democrats, they're so complicit in doing this, they refuse to report on this story. And I'm going to show you that right now. Now, I'm on this website called Ground News. If you guys want to check this out for yourself, you can go to ground.news/Devori. Now, what I did was look up this story, and what I'm noticing is it's only the media outlets that lean right that's actually reporting on this. It's quite sad. Now, one of the reasons why I believe that the left is not reporting on this is because it contradicts their entire argument that no, all of these agencies, they're doing the right thing. The money is going to the right location. No, FEMA never sent money to illegal migrants. And of course, now we know that that is just not true whatsoever. And I guess if I was in their shoes, I probably wouldn't be reporting it either. And let me just show you. There's only 2 articles where the left is reporting this, and you already have 31 articles as it pertains to media outlets that lean right. I mean, what this is called on this website is blind spot. All right. That is the tool that they use to tell you whether or not a story is being disproportionately reported. This is a great example. The left is totally turning a blind eye to this, and I just find it to be laughable. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is so important to be able to do your own research. And a way to be effective at that is using the right tools, which is why I believe in Ground News. We use it here for this show because it gives us the full picture of what's going on. And it's a great example right here. The left wants to turn a blind eye to this story. And this is why I love Ground News, and you will too. So subscribe through my link at ground.news/Devori or download the mobile app and use offer code Devori for 40% off the Vantage plan, which will give you unlimited access to everything that we just covered in this video. So this is just another conspiracy theory that has been proven true. Now let's move to the next crazy story. And once again, Democrats are losing it. They are now protesting at the Social Security office, and they are now becoming more aggressive with their rhetoric. Take a look.
Wow, wow, wow. Look at this crowd. Elon Musk, where are you? Bring your ass over here so you can see who's here and what we're doing. We're not afraid of you. We know that you are the co-president now of the United States of America. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to follow very closely what he's doing and how he has done it. First of all, we're here at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What is it? This is so important. Prior to this being organized in the Dodd-Frank reforms, consumers didn't have any place to really file complaints. They didn't have anywhere to go when the biggest banks in America was ripping them off. The student loans were being undermined. They didn't have any place to go. But guess what? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was organized in a way to deal with people who are the victims of fraud by the biggest corporations in America.
Now, if we look past her Elon derangement syndrome, the argument here is that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is really good for American citizens, but they're not telling you the entire story. For an example, it is actually the least accountable agency out there. Why is that? Because they don't get their funding from Congress. They get it from the Federal Reserve. And we should also note that they have been accused of pursuing a more left-wing agenda by targeting businesses that don't align with progressive ideals. Now, to actually hear more of this side of the debate, I'm going to show you a clip from Lance Trover, who went on CNN and explained why it's a great idea to shut down this agency.
It's interesting, Lance, because this agency that we're talking about right now has, over the years, returned nearly $20 billion to American consumers. So how is shuttering it good for Americans?
Well, where did that $20 billion come from? Fining financial institutions, suing small businesses out there. That's their record of what they've done. I mean, that's some would argue that they've increased prices. That's what their whole purpose is, to fine financial institutions and all of that good stuff. So I think that was
actually guardrails. They're actually what the federal government does. They act as guardrails to make sure that actually when they're trying to defraud the public, that there is a federal. This is literally what they were there to create it to do.
They were suing small businesses in Chicago and taking them to task for over minor stuff. I mean,
illegal stuff or just minor stuff?
Minor stuff. That is a fact.
But that's what you're saying. It's minor stuff. But they've also managed to protect.
Take the money away from financial institutions. That's what they were built on. This was designed and created by Elizabeth Warren, one of the most far-left senators in the country. What are you talking about? No oversight. I'm discussing where the $20 billion is coming from. It's coming from financial institutions, which has a direct impact on people who have funds at those banks. That's absolutely what happens. That's absolutely what this agency's been doing. There is obviously a difference of opinion in terms of this agency and what it should be doing and who's holding what accountable based on the Trump administration. And yeah, they're trying to shut it down. And again, this is yet another fight that they're ready to have.
Now, some are arguing that this is actually one of the only issues so far where Democrats may have a little bit more meat on the bone, because it's easier for the average person to understand why this agency might be worth saving, because the whole purpose of it is to protect consumers. Now, the only problem is, like I stated already with you guys, is that that's not the full story. That they're just like all the other agencies out there that is guilty of fraud, waste, and abuse.
House Republicans have cut this agency to a 50-year low, and now the unelected co-president wants to cut Social Security even further. One of the bright line rules that we had here when I had the honor to lead these 70,000 men and women was that this is personal data. This is private data. This is every man and woman in America from their very first job, all of their earnings, for the benefits they work a lifetime for. That is personal data, and it was a fireable offense to go into other people's personal data when you did not have a business purpose, related to that person's application. And now these boys from DOGE roll in violation of the Constitution, in violation of the law, in flagrant violation. And so we say again, Elon Musk, keep your hands off of Social Security. This is not about efficiency. This is about two things. This is about stealing the personal data of Americans, and it is about taking a lifetime of earned benefits, your Social Security benefits, and turning it into a Bitcoin bank.
You know, it's fascinating how much energy they have when it comes to debating this whole issue in regards to protecting Americans' sensitive information. But where are they at with the rest of the companies in America who has access to all of our information? They haven't protected citizens whatsoever. It was also reported that China hacked the Treasury database. I didn't see them protesting over that either. I mean, these guys are a joke. Nobody believes in this outrage that they have because it's all smoke and mirrors. There's no substance to it. And like I stated earlier, they're all over the place. Now, a journalist ran into Elizabeth Warren and confronted her over her hypocrisy, of course, because we know she's worth a lot of money these days. And of course, she denies it, but things got heated really quick.
The shutdown.
So, Senator Warren, why are you so afraid of transparency? Why are you bothered by the fact that Elon Musk is attempting to expose all of this fraudulent spending? What is that about? What is the problem here? What is the problem with transparency? Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Senator Warren, I just want to answer a question. How did you get a $12 million net worth on a $200,000 salary in Congress?
Thank you.
How did you do that?
Excuse me.
How did you do that? You can keep trying to block my camera. We're on a public sidewalk, so get off of me. So you don't want to answer that question. What is it about DOGE that's such a problem to you? You just elbowed me, Senator. I got that on camera.
Excuse us. Thank you.
Transparency is your enemy.
No, obviously she wasn't going to respond to that, of course. But hey, you know what? She's been harassing Elon Musk every single day. So maybe it's good for her to get a little taste of her own medicine.
I said it then and I'll say it again, that Elon Musk needs to keep his grubby hands, his greedy, grubby hands off of our government. You know, I don't know about all of you, but I'm having a hard time sleeping at night. My daughter is 16 years old and looking at colleges, and I'm so worried about the world that she's living in now and the world that she will inherit. And I asked myself, you know, how do we get here? How were working men and women convinced to believe that a failed businessman who was godless and lawless could lead them anywhere? Because he lied. Because he's a liar and a crook.
So obviously a failed businessman wouldn't be worth billions. And I'm believing she's talking about President Trump, because I know she's not talking about Elon Musk, the richest person in our country, of course. That is the first thing. The second thing, if you can't sleep at night because you fear so much for your children, maybe that's a you problem. And we know it is because their entire mindset is based on victimization. They see themselves as a victim. So they speak as a victim and they get victim results.
What we're seeing coming out of Washington is anything but that. Every time you hear DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, you just remember it is the Department of Government Evil. Over.
Well, I suppose he has a point, because that department is exposing the evil inside the government with all this wasteful spending that people like him clearly support. Again, they have more outrage at the people finding the corruption than the corruption itself. And again, they're going to lose on this. Now, while they were out there complaining about Elon Musk and the corruption that he's been exposing, you know what President Trump was doing? His job. Here he is delivering an ultimatum to Hamas in regards to the hostages.
Should the ceasefire then be off?
Well, I would say this, and I'm going to let that be because that's Israel's decision. But as far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock. I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday, and if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, I would say all hell is going to break out.
This is exactly what we were talking about when we first heard of hostages being released, that they were only being released in small numbers. Just release them all, of course. That's what Trump has always said. But now it's gotten to a point where patience is clearly running out, and Hamas is slow walking this. And they just, in fact, which is what prompted him to say that, because it's being reported that Hamas has suspended the release of any further hostages. So it makes sense that at this point in time, they need an ultimatum.
And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy. What's happened? How people can be that mean to do. I mean, the one guy was laughing when a hostage he thought his family was alive. Found out the family was dead, and his captor, so to speak, started laughing because he thought it was so funny. You know, this is a different group of people. No, I would say Saturday at 12, we want them all back. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it. But from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not here, all hell is going to break out.
Now, one of the points I want to make about what President Trump is saying is that when it comes to Hamas, we're talking about evil. There's nothing good about them. If we show any sign of weakness, they will take advantage. So how do you respond to evil? You got to get rid of it. You got to nip it in the bud. You cannot continue to allow this to drag on. How much longer are hostages that may or may not be alive continue to be held hostage? I mean, when is enough enough? Now, what's really interesting is what Ted Cruz just posted. The full story of USAID funding Hamas is vast, and much of it was done in secret. Before and after October 7th, USAID flowed uncountable hundreds of millions of dollars toward Hamas that enabled it to launch the attack and keep battling Israel afterwards. They lied about the nature of that aid in public databases, refused to disclose what groups were getting the money, and gave tens of millions in American cash to be distributed without American supervision. They internally admitted the aid would benefit Hamas and even exempted themselves from anti-terrorism laws, but in public issued denials. For all of 4 years of the Biden administration, I prevented them from confirming a Middle East administrator because they wouldn't acknowledge what they were doing, because continuing their secret pro-Hamas programs was more important to them. Now, Senator Tom Cotton said this: Hamas is a vicious terrorist organization that slaughtered and starved not just Israelis, but also Americans. President Trump is right to demand Hamas release the hostages and make clear that we will back Israel to the hilt if this deal fails. Now, here's an example of what President Trump was referring to, which prompted the question that he answered. Here's how they looked before they were captured, and here's how they look now. So clearly, that's not good. Now, what's actually worse than seeing that is this terrible reaction from Congressman Crow, who's out of Colorado, a Democrat, who believes that all Trump is really doing is talking tough. It doesn't mean anything, and we should have a conversation with Hamas in order to resolve this. Now, you know my opinion. I don't believe we can have conversations with evil in that way. I just think they need to be eradicated. That's my own personal opinion, but maybe that's why I'm not in charge of foreign policy. Here's what he had to say.
Well, tough talk rarely ever gets people released in situations like this. What actually gets people released is the behind-the-scenes work, the hard work of diplomacy and security to get it to have happen. But really, Donald Trump, all hell is going to break loose? Have you seen pictures of Gaza recently? Have you seen the fact that it is completely destroyed and leveled in that tens of thousands of people, mainly women and children, have lost their lives there? So I don't know what he's talking about. Clearly, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's actually get these hostages released, because they need to get released. They need to go home. And let's figure out how we can engage in real discussion to have real solution to bring peace to this region.
So that is an example of the issues that Democrats continue to lose on. It's as if his beef with Trump is more important than releasing hostages. And again, Democrats are in full reaction mode. They're not actually thinking through what's coming out of their mouth because there's just too many battles for them to fight at this point. And I think that's part of what President Trump is doing. He's throwing so much at them that he's pretty much stalling them. I mean, they can't even get organized here. And we're going to show you a lot of examples throughout this video of that. So it looks like another conspiracy has been proven to be true. So give me your answer in the comment section. What do you think about the fact that it was $59 million that went to illegal migrants in order to house them in New York City? Give me an answer to that in the comment section below. Now, one thing that was more entertaining than the Super Bowl last night was President Trump trolling Taylor Swift after she got booed out of the stadium. And this morning, a pastor came out and threatened Elon Musk with violence. If you want to check out that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.